Yes, yes, yes. Uh, uh. Y'all get a breakdown. Shout out to Philip P. I gotta let it ride out for a second. Yeah, shout out to Philip P for making that dope intro. We are the Hot Minutia. I am Barry Long II, not the first, not the third. We are live on CoachellaValley.com, live on today'scalifornia.com, live on today'scanada.com. Shout out to everybody from Coachella. This is the world famous Coachella Festival going on this past weekend, and weekend number 2 is coming up. So it's been very busy out here in the Coachella Valley, and we love it. That's why I'm wearing the Coachella hat. How you doing today, Rudy Reyes?
Man,
Rudy Ramon Reyes?
good, man. You seem to be representing pretty well there, Barry.
Oh, yeah.
I know you're wearing a sweater, even though it's probably in the hundreds right now. But you know,
why you hating on the wardrobe, bro?
No. Hey, I can't even understand the words that are on this sweater. So you know, I'm good. I'm good. I am good. I'm Rudy Reyes. Thank you guys for joining.
We are definitely an international show. So we have people from Malaysia, with people from Argentina, Mexico, somebody from Tulum. We definitely have people from Japan. So if y'all know what this says on my shirt, then y'all just comment and leave a comment. And we appreciate y'all for tuning in, for sharing the show, for liking the show, for commenting. So today we have a lot of things to talk about, Rudy Reyes. We got some football. Now it's not football. It's not football season, but football, the NFL does such a great job of just intertwining news with the rest of the sports world so that we're always reminded that NFL is not going anywhere for a long time. So we're going to talk about Deebo Samuel, who I think is one of the most greatest weapons in the NFL, and he has the thickest thighs. That's why they call him Deebo. But he wants a contract extension. We also have Kyler Murray from the Cardinals who wants a contract extension. We got a few players, and we're going to talk about those
guys hanging out and sit on the sidelines and wonder if they're going to get a contract, including the great Cooper Kupp, NFL Offensive Player of the Year, Cooper Kupp.
Yes, and then we're going to talk some NBA playoffs. We're also going to talk Ben Simmons because this is a major story that's coming out in the sports world. Ben Simmons has been cleared to play, cleared to return, so we may see him return any day now. Why do you go?
I'll believe when I see it, man. I don't care what the medical staff says, because he could come out on that game and all of a sudden, oh, my back's tightened up, or I have an ingrown toenail, and all of a sudden I'm not going to play. I'm just not. I'm over it. I'm beyond over it.
You're fed up with it.
It's not going to matter to me whatsoever if he comes back in and starts playing defensive ball. I don't really care. He's been a non-factor for years. If he does and he does something great, well, then so be it. Good for him and good for the Nets, because they know that they're going to need him when James Harden doesn't show up. So we'll see.
Well, James Harden, he's on the 76ers, and they're going to need Ben Simmons defensively, in my opinion. We'll get to that. We'll get to all that because the 76ers have looked good. There's a lot of different teams, including the Warriors, who I think are primed to really make a run at winning the West. I mean, if you watched their game last night, you know for a fact that they are legit. And Maria Lascuna already comments and says, "Good evening, guys. Good evening, Maria. We appreciate you so much." Maria. You remember that song?
Yeah. It reminds me of a West Side Story.
Yes. Yes. She fell in love in East LA. All right, so
that's right.
So speaking of East
LA, Harlem, so yeah, there's a lot of East LA going on there.
Let's stay in LA.
They didn't have that queued up.
Let's stay in LA and let's talk about Cooper friggin' Kupp, who was the best wide receiver that we saw this past season. He was basically he led in all statistical categories for wide receivers, and then he was the Super Bowl MVP. And my man is scheduled to make just over $14 million next season. He signed through 2023. And we saw guys like Devontae Adams sign for $28 million a year. We saw Tyreek Hill sign with the Dolphins for $30 million a year. And this guy is statistically better than both of those guys this past season. And he's due for a payday. Now, he is a very diplomatic kind of guy. He came into the situations knowing damn well his agent is probably saying, hey, man, we want $31 million. We want to be the highest paid wide receiver in the league. He is taking a more diplomatic approach and saying, hey, I want a contract extension. The Rams want to extend me. I just want to make sure it makes sense for both sides. And I feel like there's a lot of wide receivers or just skill position players in the league who come out and they have the wrong intention, the wrong approach. And I like this approach from Cooper Kupp, and I honestly think that you get more bees with honey than you do with whatever the cliche
with
calls
arsenic.
for.
Arsenic,
or with
that would
oil,
be the word right
with
there.
poison. With poison.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like this is a good approach. I feel like Cooper Kupp has proved himself to be one of the best wide receivers in the league. I'm not going to say he's number one overall just because he had the greatest statistical year last year, but I will say that he deserves to be paid at least $28 million a year. So double that man's salary. He seems like he's willing to wait. He's not going to hold out. But I feel like it's time for him to get paid. What say you, Rudy Reyes?
I think it's beyond time for him to get paid. You see Deebo Samuels, he's holding out. He's not doing any offseason practice work whatsoever with the 49ers, and for good reason. When you look at Cooper Kupp and his body of work, give him $31 million because he's going to be 31 in 2024. He's the NFL MVP, offensive MVP for a reason, Super Bowl MVP for a reason. He is a guy who basically positioned himself in such a way that he wants to be at a place that he thinks is fair. And I believe in his strategy. I believe in the way that he's going about this as a pure professional. I can't speak to those guys that don't handle it in that manner, who want to play the holdout game. It reminds me of a very contract-friendly guy in Lamar Jackson. We'll get to Lamar Jackson. We'll get to the Ravens here in a little bit. And I want to kind of set that table for a little bit, because Cooper Kupp is a guy who plays a diplomatic role. He's just that kind of guy. Now, when we were out there, Barry, covering the Super Bowl, we missed Cooper Kupp Day because he was not out there with the rest of
because he had his own
everybody else. Yeah, because he doesn't need to go to the media, but per obligation, CBA and such, he was there. We just missed the boat. However, the bottom line is that Kroenke's got the money. It's just a question as to what he's going to be paid. And he's worth every dime. I mean, the guy, and I hate to use this cliche because cliches are like diapers. Once you use them, you got to get rid of them. But this guy, I'm just saying.
His number is 10. He's worth every dime. I love that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He's worth every half penny, every pence, every lira, shekel, whatever you want to call this guy. Every amount of minutia he can fit in his cup.
Whoa.
He's gonna get it. He's gonna get what he has coming.
Wow.
Now with that being said, his base salary is $14.5 million, just over in 2022 in the 2023 season. So this could be a cap friendly situation if Kroenke and the Rams decide to tender this guy. And how could you not? He's extremely likable. He does his job on the field.
He's extremely valuable, in my opinion, too. Now, let me ask you this question. So we've seen the way that they can go out and acquire guys, for a quick fix, like a Odell Beckham Jr. or Von Miller, who's moved on to Buffalo. They've shown the ability to do that. Do you think that if Cooper Kupp, I don't see him holding out, and I don't see this becoming any kind of issue moving forward, but do you think that if Cooper Kupp did hold out and decided, hey, I'm worth more than what you're willing to pay me, and I'll hold out, and I may be on a different team, do you think that the Rams are a Super Bowl favorite without Cooper Kupp next season moving forward?
No.
I agree.
I feel like that Danny DeVito meme where he's just his glasses on. He's like, no. Cooper Kupp is one of those guys. Look, the cup is full, okay?
And the cup should run it over.
It should run it over as long as he's playing with the Rams.
Shout out to everybody who just celebrated Easter. His cup should runneth over.
His cup should runneth over. So happy Easter, you egg eaters. So
not his athletic cup. Not his athletic cup.
No, just his cup in his name cup. So he's a guy that won't be traded. The Rams will make a friendly deal to him. They'll work this out. I'm not worried about it. I'm more concerned about what Deebo Samuels, McLaurin, and two other guys that are sitting out of these. And of course, they are mandatory, at least at this point, with the 49ers, with the Commanders. It's all voluntary right now. But what they're doing is they're taking a stance saying, you know what, we're not going to do this. And here's why. We want a contract. Now, Deebo Samuels is worth every dime also. When you think about it, he was in Radio Row during the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Obviously, the 49ers did not get to that point because of Jimmy G. Maybe not entirely, but for the most part, it was Jimmy G's fault as to why they didn't get there. However, Deebo Samuels is worth every single dime. So when you think about Deebo Samuel, you should think of the utility guy, the one who does it out of the backfield, the one that has all this, all these yards after a catch. How many runs? How many catches does he get in the backfield? This guy is very friendly. He's very amicable. He was chopping it up with a couple NFL Hall of Famers while we were in Radio Row. Now, don't forget, he still does have a contract, $3,986,000, with a signing bonus of $904,519. And what that interprets into is that the cap hit is a little less than $5 million. So it's not as if the 49ers can rush to hurry up and get him this money. But when he looks at guys that you had stated, Tyreek Hill got paid big time. You have guys that were on the move. Aaron Donald, as you stated, moved away from the Rams to go play with the Buffalo Bills, one of the larger contracts in the NFL. I think Deebo Samuels needs to get paid, but I think less is more when it comes to being vocal on social media, being vocal with different outlets to suggest that you're being greedy, like you're not worth that kind of money, and basically exasperating this entire thing. So Deebo Samuels will eventually get paid. McLaurin will end up getting paid. Anybody sitting out right now will eventually get paid. But if the Rams, which I believe they will, take care of Cooper Kupp in a very silent and amicable manner, whereas if Deebo continues this offseason refusal to sit out, there are other teams waiting in the wings trying to make a trade if this does go south.
Absolutely. And I believe that Deebo Samuel, if he does not go about it amicably, the way that Cooper Kupp seems to be going about it, then I feel like Deebo Samuel, there will be a very big market for Deebo Samuel, because if you remember, I mean, we all know about Kyle Shanahan and his ability to run the ball down any opponent's throat. He has literally won games with only throwing the ball 3 or 4 times. He consistently tries and attempts to have at least 40 runs per game. And it doesn't matter if he's got Mostert out there. It doesn't matter who his running back is. Kyle Shanahan can get it done with the running game and with the schemes. But Deebo Samuel is a necessary weapon on this team. And if you remember, against the Packers, when they defeated them in the playoffs, they needed a guaranteed 3rd and long, and they handed the ball off to Deebo Samuel, who was able to get the job done. And he's that guy that's kind of clutch for them. He's that guy that is their flanker. You could put him in the backfield. You could put him in the slot. You could put him as a wide receiver. Hell, you could probably put him as a DB. Especially, you could probably put him as a punt returner or kick returner. This guy is a Swiss Army knife, a 5-tool player if this were baseball. And I love what Deebo Samuel brings to the table. But we have seen guys in the past that have argued over a contract extension, and we've seen them not get what they wanted. They sat out for a little while, and then they were never the same. And I will ask you a couple of your examples or your thoughts on people that have done this in the past. But one guy glaringly comes to my brain right now, and that's your boy Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell led the league in rushing, was one of the best guys that we were ever see running the football for 2 seasons. And he decided that he was more important than winning a Super Bowl and acquiescing and taking less money. And he held out from the Steelers. And then we saw him get traded to the Jets. We saw him bounce around from team to team. He was on the Chiefs, but he's never, ever gotten back to the level of productivity that he had the year before he wanted to hold out for his extension, for his contract. So do you see Deebo Samuel in that same light? And what player comes to your mind when you think about guys that held out, like Melvin Ingram, or not Melvin Ingram, Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon held out. Although he did end up on a new team, he just wasn't the same after he held out. What guys come to your mind, and what do you think that Deebo Samuel could potentially be like Le'Veon Bell?
Well, Le'Veon Bell is a very interesting situation. He played really good behind a great offensive line, and that's what the Steelers had, which certainly stands to reason why he felt that he needed more money. But if it wasn't for the offensive line, as he found out transitioning over from Pittsburgh to go to New York, that the O-line is going to be the one creating the gaps. They're going to be the ones opening those glaring holes through defensive linebackers and linemen, essentially, to get into pay dirt by just being patient. And that's one of the things that a good offensive line on any NFL team is going to give you, which allows you to be patient. They're really, because there's so many guys in the past that remind me of a Le'Veon Bell. And the saddest part is that Deebo Samuels could be one of those guys who essentially does too much talking, puts this out there a little too much, and
but
makes
look at the
ultimately a
productivity.
spectacle of himself. No, you can't. You can't deny it. Now, for all intents and purposes, A.J. Brown for the Tennessee Titans reminds me of a guy who could easily hold out very easily from the Tennessee Titans. Why? Because he plays the Deebo Samuels role. McLaurin, same exact way. He plays that Swiss Army knife. And of course, we're probably giving the Swiss a little too much credit.
So so let me push back just a little bit and play devil's advocate, because Cooper Kupp is a guy who is great in the slot. He's great running any kind of route. If you've heard of any like DBs talking about trying to defend a guy like Cooper Kupp, he's basically indefensible. Okay, but when you look at a guy like Deebo Samuel, I understand that McLaurin and all these guys bring a lot to the table, but ain't nobody Deebo. Deebo has, and I always say this, I'm a straight man, but I think that he has the thickest thighs. He has one of the best bases and robust bodies for a wide receiver / running back that we've probably ever seen in a long time. And I can't even think of anybody that compares to Deebo Samuel. I think that he brings so much to the table, especially his ability to run between the tackles, run outside on the sweeps, to get into the slot, just to break down anybody. He's a great route runner. And I feel like he is a unique talent that if he leaves San Francisco, then we're not even going to see San Francisco in the playoffs, especially with the inability to produce productivity that Jimmy G has shown.
Well, the issue that I have with that whole concept is there have been guys, I mean, Barry Sanders, cutting people down, just mowing people over, have the innate ability to run between tackles and expose would-be defenders, and just spinning and moving and jarring and sweeping from left to right. He makes people miss, probably in his sleep. If he wanted to count sheep, they probably weren't there because he was too busy evading them. He just reminds me of that guy, Jerome Bettis, another guy, Hall of Famer, who led the league in rushing, known as the bus. He ran inside of the tackles. He made room. He rolled you over if you were going to get in his way. There's so many guys in the past. But one thing about Deebo Samuels, and he reminds me of Jerome Bettis probably more than anybody. Why? Because of the thighs, because of his size, his athleticism, his ability to recognize what the defensive line brings him. And he has the thighs to do it. I mean, he has the ability to shed tackles.
My man has thicker thighs than KFC. I just had to throw it out there.
The Colonel would be proud.
Look, listen,
the Colonel would be proud.
The Colonel would be so. He'd be like, "Yo, I want them." Look, what Deebo Samuel should do is his agent should reach out to KFC, and he should be the one to say, "Hey, his thighs, like we got them new thighs." All right, but look, we are live on CoachellaValley.com, today'scalifornia.com, today'scanada.com. He is Rudy Ramon Reyes, one of the best in the business. I'm Barry Long, the second, not the first, not the third. And let's move on, because we got to get to these NBA playoffs real soon. But Kyler Murray is another guy who we've been talking about. And you can just see right there in that picture that we have on the screen. His face says it all. His body language has been a problem. A lot of people have criticized him for when the game is not going well. Then you see him moping on the sidelines. Woe is me. And we don't see other top quarterbacks doing this in the league. We don't see Josh Allen doing this. We don't see Patrick Mahomes doing this. We don't even see Aaron Rodgers. Although Aaron Rodgers is very outspoken about things he doesn't like, he has never shown the kind of body language that Kyler Murray has shown. And Kyler Murray is in his last year of his rookie deal. He obviously wants a contract extension. You mentioned Lamar Jackson earlier, who also needs a contract extension, but he has been less vocal about his need for an extension than Kyler Murray has. So do you feel like Kyler Murray is worth a contract extension? And do you feel like what the going rate right now is $40 million a year? Do you think Kyler Murray is worth $40 million a year? Because I don't. I think he should sign the $36 million, $35 million. If they put 34 on the table, if I'm Kyler, I'm signing it, and let's go. What do you think?
Well, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and I'm going to play two sides here. First side is Kyler Murray could determine whether or not he wants to play on $30 million. I wouldn't shake a stick at it. If they offer that, put it on the table, he may as well go take it. The problem that I have is that Kyler Murray is not worth that kind of money, at least not yet, for two reasons, and two reasons only. he started out great, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish. He finished horrible, ended up throwing more picks, missing targets on the run, outside the pocket, even inside the numbers. He wasn't able to get that done. So he started off good, ended up not so good. And the other problem I have with Kyler Murray is his behavior, his demeanor, his attitude. He's reflecting through his agent and basically is threatening the Cardinals to suggest that he's not going to play in 2022 unless he receives a new contract. Now, that photo right there reminds me of somebody who clearly is not mature enough to handle the responsibilities set forth if he was to make $30 to $33 million annually. Why? Because he's not responsible on the field. He doesn't know how to stay consistent when the need calls for it. And most of all, above all else, he reminds me of these guys in the NBA. And we're going to switch topics here in just a moment, but it reminds me of the immaturity and the mindset. You know, he may believe that he's deserving of that money, but little does he know that he's not as deserving as he thinks that he is. So it's not what we think of ourselves, it's what others perceive of us that really matters. And that's the end of that argument. On the positive side, the Cardinals have been through starting quarterback after starting quarterback after starting quarterback year in and year out. They have not found any stability whatsoever, and to the discredit of the organization, have not drafted properly in order to get the right quarterback, since a guy who was bagging groceries, we all know who that is, and Kurt Warner selling insurance.
I was about to ask you who's the best
Super Bowl.
I was about to ask you who's the best quarterback that they've had in the past like 20 years. And you're right, Kurt Warner. They've had Drew Stanton. They've had Josh Rosen. They've had a lot of just random names that we cannot even come up with off the top of our head because they have not had stability. So yeah, you're right. Kurt Warner has been their best quarterback in the past few seasons.
Sure. No, I would probably tend to say all time, to be quite honest with you.
Does Kyler can he be better than Kurt Warner?
I think he's got a long way to go. He's got a long way to go because Kurt Warner's sense of humility derives from his days of being cut. You know, his days of saying, we're going to have you on this team, then gets cut the next week. And then this emotional and football roller coaster, as we all know, for guys coming out of playing other forms of football, Arena League, which is where he originally had a lot of his skill set built, was in the Arena League. But then, you know what, decided I'm going to go do something else until I wait for that call. That's exactly what he got from the Cardinals. And, you know, the guy's a Hall of Famer. So a lot to hold a stick at right now. If you're Kyler Murray trying to reach that plateau, I don't think he's there yet. Could he be? That depends on-field attitude, demeanor, locker room. Does he own the locker room? Does he have full and undeniable connection with the guys that he plays with on the offensive line, the defensive line? Has he won fans over yet? Probably not on this end, considering he's asking, he's threatening to not play in 2022. So a lot to be considered if you're the Cardinals, and a lot more if you're Kyler Murray. Should you start him or sit him? And don't forget, the fantasy owners out there are chomping at the bit right now, making their prediction as to whether or not he'll play or if he'll sit.
Absolutely. And I just feel like if everybody who's watching this show, if you're watching live, then comment, please. We would love to hear your comment, and we'd love to bring it up on the screen. Speak up. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. But Maria,
don't be shy.
She's never shy. She's never scared. But my thing is that, okay, if you think about your day job, whatever you do, if you're a banker, if you're a grocery bagger like Kurt Warner used to be, would you walk into your job and say, hey, listen, I'm not playing next season until I'm not going to work tomorrow until you give me a raise? And that's essentially what these guys are doing in the NFL and NBA. And I feel like it's a risk that some are willing to take, and it pays off for some guys. But for some guys, they never, ever get to that point again, and it ruins their career. So it's just a conundrum that somebody is going to have to figure out when they're in that position. But we wish the best for Kyler Murray, and I think he's a great talent. And he's considered the number one overall of all time high school football players in the state of Texas, which is the hotbed for high school football. But at the same time, we got to see it, man. We've seen him be nice and consistent in the beginning of seasons, but we've seen him, dwindle down and never come through and finish a great season. So We wish the best for him, but we'll keep you we'll keep you updated on that story. But let's get into another story because we have the NBA playoffs going on right now. And before we get to the matchups and the series that we're looking at right now, I want to talk about Ben Simmons real quick. He's been cleared to play. He has participated in 4-on-4, 3-on-3. Now he is cleared to play 5-on-5, and his return is to be determined. We're thinking that because of when you look at what the Eastern Conference looks like right now, and we'll take away that so you can see Brooklyn at the bottom. Brooklyn is down 1-0 to Boston, and Boston is looking very great. It was a fantastic game one, probably one of the best game ones of an opening round NBA playoff series that I've ever seen, with the whole the whole buzzer beater with Jason Tatum near the rim. I mean, it was a great game. So it's going to be a great series, and I fully predict this series, even without Ben Simmons, I think this series goes 7, at least 6. But we've seen great play from Marcus Smart and other guys, and Ben Simmons has the ability to come in and lock down, one of the key offensive players of any other team. So I don't expect him to produce much offensively, but defensively, if you bring back Ben Simmons, let's say game 4, game 5, and the series is 2-2 or 2-1, if you bring him back game 3, I feel like the Nets have a better chance of winning this series with Ben Simmons than without. What say you, Rudy Reyes?
I'm not on the Ben Simmons train. I'm sorry.
Why do you hate Ben Simmons so much?
This is not a hate mode, okay? I understand that we all need a mental health day.
Yeah.
Maybe a mental health few days. Maybe a vacation to Mazatlan. Maybe, let
me tell you about mental health days. Because ever since the pandemic, pre-pandemic, people that were employees were not so bold. Now employees are they're calling out sick, saying, hey, you know what? I'm not sick. I just need a mental health day. And because there's so many employers out there that are desperate for employees, I mean, McDonald's and In-N-Out are like starting off teenagers at like $18 an hour. So there are a lot of people that are taking mental health days. But Ben Simmons has been taking a mental health year, maybe a year and a half. And I feel like it's time for him to stop messing around. And if we don't see him in the playoffs this season, then which we'll see him in this series. I expect him to not have more than like 4 to 6 points a game, but I expect him to have 4 to 6 steals a game. But if we don't see him this season, then if he's not ready by next season, I'm ready to cut Ben Simmons, because I'm sick and tired of people acting like they don't need to work or they don't need to produce at work. And this is just a microcosm of what's happening with America.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with his mindset and the way that he approaches pregame warm-ups, his approach to being coddled when he was with the 76ers, and his family having way too much influence in regards to his decision-making processes, what he does, where he goes, how that's done. A lot of hands in the pot and not enough to help this man up in order to make the determination whether or not he's going to play or not going to play. And the sad part is that I don't know if he's coming or going. I don't even know if he knows if he's coming or going. Yes, he says that he wants to play, and that's great and wonderful. And for all intents and purposes, I hope he does play, not only for himself, but for his team. And I think this has really been about him and not been about the team. Same thing can be said for Kyrie Irving. Ultimately ended up getting fined $50,000 because of his hand gestures, putting middle fingers behind his head to the Celtics fans as they lost that game just yesterday. NBA does not play around with this, so they should play a lot more a significant role in regards to Ben Simmons returning and force him in a somewhat maybe an uncomfortable situation to say, you know what, you need to play or you need to go. I doubt they're going to get their hands involved in that component, because the team in of itself needs to be able to have that conversation with him. And if he's not man enough to get out there and play based on this to be determined what's to be determined? If he's cleared to play,
if he's soft or not,
he's cleared to play,
that's what's to be determined.
The only thing that
he's
is
soft
to be determined whether or not I go to sleep at 10 o'clock at night. Okay. So outside of that, he needs to man up, get out there and play ball to the best of his ability, and show this team why they made the moves that he did to acquire him. And if he doesn't play in this series, I foresee them cutting him loose and calling it a day and taking the hit.
If he doesn't play in this series, then I foresee this series not going 6 games because Tatum is looking great. I mean, Marcus Smart's looking great. Their coaching is phenomenal. Boston has quietly became the number 2 seed in this Eastern Conference, and I love it. And when you look at what we've seen right now, we got Miami and Atlanta. Miami is clearly better than Atlanta. Atlanta does not have, they don't have Collins. They don't have a healthy Capella. They just have Trae Young, and they have some role players. And Miami is stacked. I mean, they're pretty good when you look at what they bring to the table. And defensively, when you have Jimmy Butler to lock down a guy like Trae Young or anybody, then I feel like Miami is doing well in this series. Philadelphia is a team that really intrigues me because we know Milwaukee is going to win that series. I predict that Boston will ultimately beat Brooklyn, but I think it'll go 7. But Philadelphia is a juggernaut of an offense when you see James Harden and Joel Embiid running the pick and roll the way they do. I mean, they look better. I'm not going to say this because I am a prisoner of the moment, and everybody who watches the Hot Minutia knows that Barry Long II is a prisoner of the moment always. But I saw a breakdown of their pick and roll with Joel Embiid and James Harden. And James Harden, his threat of scoring off the pick and roll and not having to pass, and Joel Embiid's dominance in the paint, I think that this pick and roll is better than Stockton and Malone, better than the Jazz 2.0 when you had Boozer and Darren Williams. I think that this 76ers team looks very dominant when you have guys like Maxey putting up 38 points and then 23, 8, and 9 the next night.
He had his best game. Maxey had his best game,
yeah,
but there's no way that
and he followed it up with a great game, with another great game.
Exactly. Maxey's that X factor, and that's why he has 2 X's in his name, Maxey, because he knows,
that's why Rudy
knows how to bring it. And tonight, when you look at Jimmy Butler, he was the ultimate guy on the court. He was taking advantage of the post. He was driving the lane. He was able to switch hands, to lay up, get under the basket, and make it count. He's a defensive juggernaut. The guy is a fly you don't want on your potato salad because he will end up ruining it for everybody. Because he's been on a pile of poop.
Yeah,
he had already been all over you like white on rice. And Jimmy Butler is one of those guys.
And real quick, just the fact that you said that, I was at a kid's birthday party, and there was flies flying around, and the mom was like, "Connor, don't let the flies fly on your hot dog." And when I saw the fly on a hot dog, immediately I thought, okay, because you've been in places where flies don't care. They don't care what they don't care what kind of crap they've been around. They will land on crap, and then they will land on your face. They'll land on your hot dog. But I just I just cringe every time I see a fly land on food because I know that they were probably on a pile of poop like miles away. But real quick, before we get to the meme of the day, we have 1 minute left. I'll give you 30 seconds on my opinion on the Western Conference. You give us 30 seconds on yours, Rudy. But Phoenix looks really good. Dallas and Utah is going to go, it's going to go pretty far deep into the series. Memphis and Minnesota. Memphis just won, so now it's 1-1. But Golden State has been a juggernaut as well on the Western Conference side of things. And when they have a healthy Draymond Green, they got Steph back. Steph looks like Steph. You got Klay Thompson, not 100% Klay, but you've got guys like Jordan Poole looking like a young Steph Curry. They are just rolling at the right time. I think that they are going to be a very tough out for the Phoenix Suns. What say you about the Western Conference and what you've seen so far in the playoffs?
Right now Phoenix is actually leading by 3 against New Orleans right now with 5:50 to play in the third. Very hot and highly contested game right about now. I think Phoenix will end up going 2-0. There's a lot of things I love about Golden State Warriors. They're also 2-0 for a lot of reasons, more than just Steph Curry, but they clearly and obviously are better with Steph Curry on the floor than with him on the bench. That's just a fact of the matter. But what's really interesting about this Eastern Conference, or excuse me, the Eastern Conference is an absolute beast. I mean, you don't want to face the guys from the beasts from the East are the ones that you don't want to face.
Can we call them the Beastern Conference?
The Beastern Conference. Western Conference also has its work cut out for them, to say the very least.
All right, so 10 seconds, Rudy. A gun to your head, a guy rolls up to you and is robbing you and says, the Phoenix Suns or the Golden State Warriors, who are you picking?
I gotta go with Phoenix. They're just way too deep. They're way too deep right now. And the way they're playing, leading the series 2-0 with Steph Curry, who can drop half-court shots with his eyes closed.
You just said, hold on. You said you got the Phoenix Suns and you said Steph Curry. So you got the Golden State Warriors.
Steph Curry for the Golden State Warriors can also hit those threes from half court with his eyes closed. It's definitely Phoenix.
All right, I have Phoenix as well. I think Phoenix is going to win the Western Conference Finals in 7 games. But I might change. Y'all know I'm a prisoner of the moment. I might change my prediction because Golden State, man, they look like a juggernaut. All right, let's get to the meme of the day. We've had a great show. We appreciate Maria Lascuna and Bill Senso. We know you're watching on the back end. You didn't hit us up live, but we appreciate it because we know you're watching the games.
Yeah, exactly.
But real quick, meme of the day. I got 3 memes, and this is not a meme. I just thought this was ridiculous. Tic Tac, Coca-Cola flavored Tic Tacs, bro. I like to say, people say that
sizzle when you have one.
the body's made up of 70% water, and I just stopped drinking soda, so like 3 weeks ago. So, but what I used to tell people, Rudy, is that your body's made up of 70% water. My body is at least made up of 65% Coca-Cola, but it's not anymore. I'm drinking lemonade and water. But I love the fact that if somebody has ever seen those, please send us some of those. And this was not a meme either. This is just a great picture. But Jay Crowder is the first starter in NBA history to have 1 point, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 block in a game in NBA history. My man went 1-1-1-1-1. And if you are a fan of numerology, shout out to you.
If you
All right, but here's the official meme of the day. Y'all, this is what we do the meme of the day for. This is I thought this was funny. Why KFC is playing Will Smith. So if you can see that that they say the spicy chicken sandwich will hit you harder than Will Smith. It hits harder than Will Smith.
You know who they should have outside holding the sign? Chris Rock.
Oh my God.
Chris Rock.
Chris Rock, though, he did experience a surge in business and a surge in in
for good reason.
For good reason. All right, so real quick, Rudy, tell them how they can find you right now.
He should call that slapping Will Chicken. You find me at
I went to Raising Cane's today for lunch, and this is how the lady opened up. I'm in the drive-thru. She says, "Welcome to Raising Cane's. Sauce so good it'll make your tongue slap your forehead." I said, "What?" and look, so you know how you order first, and then you pull forward, and you can still hear the guy behind you ordering.
Sure.
Or before you order, you get in front of you. They didn't say that for anybody else. So I'm thinking maybe they seen like the swag, and they were like, "Yo, we're gonna hit that guy with it." But
shout out, may as well. Shout out to Raising Cane's, I guess.
Yeah.
You can find me on Twitter at RudDogReyes. You can go to Facebook. You can certainly go to LinkedIn, Instagram. My gosh, I'm everywhere and anywhere.
And we are everywhere and anywhere. Please, you can find me on Facebook. It's exactly the way it's written right here. You can also find me on Twitter at Radio Barry Long, or on IG at Barry Long II. Y'all remember, stay focused, stay motivated, stay inspired, and go watch some NBA playoffs. And remember, you're capable of doing anything, so go out and do it.
Get her done.
Get her done. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.
Bye.